All right. Why do we sleep? Well, that's a good question, right? Why do we sleep? Every creature that has a spinal cord sleeps, so it seems to be a pretty basic function that is very necessary. So some hypotheses about why we sleep, why creatures with spines sleep. Protection from predators is a really good reason, right? If you're asleep, then you're not creeping around and making movement that would alert the predator that you're there. So, holding still is a really protective strategy. Of course, like I said, stage 3 sleep allows us to restore and repair our bodies. So, if you've been active or you're growing or you're pregnant or something like that, you need that time to devote to repairing your body and to release those hormones that will help repair your body. If you are growing, you need to be able to release the growth hormone. If you are growing a fetus, you need to be able to release the growth hormone. Now, of course, we could argue, well, that could happen while you're awake, right? And maybe we just have evolved not to have it happen while we're awake because we sleep. So it's quite the circular question. I'm not exactly sure. Another argument is that when you are sleeping, there are certain things going on in your brain that allow the storage of memories, which is really important, and that you need to have a period of time where there's no other distractors going on so that you can focus in on that information that you're trying to transfer to long-term storage in your brain. And then, interestingly, creative problem solving. A lot of times people will go to bed with a problem on their mind and wake up in the morning with a possible solution. And that kind of implies that maybe your unconscious brain was working on it. So maybe these are reasons why we sleep. The top 3, for sure, these are done while we're sleeping and very important. Memory storage, for sure. Creative problem solving seems to have a lot of evidence that supports that, but I can't say as strongly for sure. All right. What if you don't sleep? What happens if you're deprived of sleep or don't get enough sleep, especially chronically? Without enough sleep, you lose brain power. It's hard to focus. You can't solve problems as effectively. You tend to gain weight when you're deprived of sleep. They now know that there's a connection between sleeping and then the suppression of the hunger-inducing hormone ghrelin. So not getting enough sleep sets your body up for more hunger than you would have if you slept adequately. You're more likely to get sick. People who don't sleep enough tend to have depressed immune functioning, and they're more likely to get sick from something as simple as the common cold all the way up to bigger things like diabetes. More likely to be irritable. I mean, we all know that, right? If you're tired, you get cranky, right? People tend to feel older when they're tired. Their body's heavier, their brain's cloudy. They're like, oh my God, I feel like my grandmother should be feeling. I don't feel like I should be feeling. How about quantifying it? People who have been experiencing sleep loss or deprivation do tend to have more accidents, all the way ranging from little small things like dropping things or tripping over things to car accidents. So here we have accident frequency on the y-axis. And then on the x-axis we have, on the left panel is the springtime change, which is when we're all deprived of an hour of sleep. And on the right we have the fall time change, where we all got indulged an hour of sleep. The blue column is the Monday before the time change, and the red column is the Monday after the time change. So what you see is that in the spring, you see an increase in the number of accidents on the Monday following the time change. In the fall, you see a reduction in the number of accidents following the time change. Now, I'm going to go ahead and mention something that I've been complaining to the textbook publishers about this for a really long time. If you notice the y-axis, it's not on the two panels. It's not on the same count, right? On the left, the highest number is 2,800. On the right, the highest number is 4,200. The lowest number is 3,600. These are not on the same scale. So it kind of implies that, I mean, the way they've got it scaled, it kind of implies that you start off with fewer accidents in the fall than you end up with in the spring. And in fact, it's 2,800 after the spring time change. It's 4,000 before the fall time change. So yes, we get a reduction after the fall time change, but it's nowhere near as big of a reduction as that picture implies. Um, I've been telling them, you guys have got to stop kind of misleading with the scale on the y-axis, but they haven't fixed it in like 15 years of me nagging them about that. Apparently they like it. Okay, so obviously we need to sleep. Unfortunately, it's not always perfect, our ability to sleep. When we sleep, sometimes things go wrong, and sometimes we can't get to sleep or stay asleep. So we call these sleep disorders, when things are going wrong. Let's start with with insomnia, which is when you have a persistent, not acute because of something going on right now, but over time, persistently, you have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. Either one of those. For some lucky individuals, they get to have both of those. But all you need is one. Either you have trouble getting to sleep, or once you're asleep, you have trouble staying asleep. The thing about insomnia, and I thought I had my different kinds listed here, but apparently not. There are different kinds of insomnia. There are some people who think they have insomnia because they're unable to fall asleep when they want to, or they wake up earlier than they plan to, that when the doctor analyzes their total sleep behavior for the day, including naps and things like that, and then taking their age into account and their reduced need for stage 3 sleep and stuff like that, they come to realize, actually, you're getting plenty of sleep. It's just not happening in one big bout in the night. You're doing an hour and a half nap in the afternoon. You're sleeping for 6 hours at night. That's 7.5 hours of sleep. You're actually getting plenty of sleep. Cut out your nap, or accept the fact that you are going to go to bed later, or you're going to be getting up earlier than you used to when you were younger. That's called pseudo-insomnia, where a person thinks they have insomnia, but they really don't. There's also another kind of false insomnia, which is really drug-induced insomnia, where a person has become dependent on a sleep aid to fall asleep. They every night take a Tylenol PM or whatever, and every night they take it, and if they skip one, they can't get to sleep. And the only really way to deal with that is to sort of wean yourself off of the sleep aid so that you can train yourself to fall asleep again. What most of us are concerned about is what's called idiopathic insomnia. Idiopathic means we don't know why you're having trouble sleeping. Idiopathic means there's no explanation. So what we do with people who are having difficulty sleeping, that are truly just like they are not sleeping well, is teach them good sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene is steps that you can take to try and ensure that you're doing everything that you possibly can to induce sleep. I've got a picture of a baby on here because let's be honest, most parents figure this out for their baby because they want that kid to go to sleep. Like, give me a break, I want to take a shower. Parents typically will get into a routine with their baby so that the baby will have good sleep hygiene, so that the baby will be able to sleep well. We all need this. Have a calm hour before bedtime. Start turning off some of the overhead lights. This is a bad one for me. Turn off all screens. I'm pretty good about turning off my computer. I'm pretty good about that. I'm good about turning off my tablet. I have just a dumb phone anyway, so that one is out of the picture for me anyway. And none of my friends would text me at night because I'm old, right? But I leave my phone downstairs. Oh, I've been nagging my children about that for years. Leave your phone downstairs. My son's like me. He doesn't care. He just leaves his phone downstairs. But my daughter's the worst and like sleeps with it clutched in her fist practically. And so if somebody texts her in the middle of the night, it wakes her up. And that's not good sleep hygiene. You want to have no screens. One of the things that's bad about TV, computer, tablet screens is that they flicker, and they have a blue light that actually tricks your suprachiasmatic nucleus into thinking it's being exposed to daylight, and so it actually delays the onset of sleep. So that's why it's a really good idea to turn the lights down and turn off your screens an hour before you're going to go to bed. Also, no food, caffeine, or alcohol near bedtime. Now, our textbook mentions that you can drink some milk and like have a whole wheat bread turkey sandwich before bed, and that can help sleep onset. And it can, but you got to do like a small amount. because a really full stomach will actually interfere with your ability to fall asleep. You don't want to be stuffed before you go to bed, but you also don't want to be starving before you go to bed, because your belly will growl all night telling you to get up and go to get something to eat. So you want to have a little bit of food in your tummy. Obviously no caffeine, but you know what a lot of people don't realize is that anything after 2 p.m. is going to stay in your system long enough to possibly interfere with sleep onset. So if you have trouble sleeping, you might want to cut back caffeine after 2 p.m. If you don't have any trouble sleeping, don't worry about anything I'm saying. Do whatever you were doing because it's working. But if you have trouble going to sleep, these are good strategies. Alcohol does not help with sleep onset. A lot of times people think, well, I'll just have a shot of whiskey and I'll go to sleep. Yeah, that doesn't really help, and possibly interferes and can give you weird dreams. So yeah, probably don't want to do that. Now this is a hard one, particularly for college students, but get up at the same time every day and avoid naps. I take a power nap every afternoon, but I get up at the same time of day, I go to bed at the same time every day, and of course everybody thinks I'm just stuck in my ways, and that's why it's a joke. Everybody makes fun of me for my rigid bedtimes and stuff. I get up at the same time every single day. Even when I'm tired, I get up at the same time every day. And my husband always tells me, sleep in, it's summer, why are you getting up? Because if I don't, it's hard to get back in the routine when come fall I have to teach a 7:30 a.m. class, and I have to teach a class at night that goes till 9:50. I've got to get my routine going, so I'm going to be able to cope with that. I teach 7:30 a.m. and I teach 5:30 p.m. 3 nights a week that goes till 9:50. I need a power nap in the middle of the day, and what I mean by a power nap is not what you might be thinking of when I say nap. A power nap is literally a 15 to 20 minute sleep that does not allow you to descend past stage 2. If you get past stage 2, you are going to be more tired when you wake up. And actually it's going to make it harder for you to go to sleep that night when it's time to go to sleep. Power nap, 15-20 minutes, it just sort of resets your, in the middle of the afternoon when that drowsiness hits, just take a brief nap. And you know what I do? I do it when people's court is on, because I know that her hitting the gavel at the end of the second, I fall asleep at the end of the first case, I let her wake me up with her gavel at the end of the second case, and I wake up every time. My husband always says, why do you even bother? It's like you barely closed your eyes. But it's enough to make my little brain feel rejuvenated without interfering with my sleep at night. Exercise regularly. Anything that you do for 20 to 30 minutes will help with sleep onset. The key thing is you want it to be, if you're having trouble sleeping, plan your exercise to be somewhere between 4 and 8 hours before bed, and make it something either something aerobic. And that could be, weightlifting with an aerobic strategy. It can be literal aerobic class. It could be, walking. It could be whatever it is, but something that gets the exchange of oxygen 4 to 8 hours before bedtime. At least 2 hours, but 4 to 8 is that sweet spot of 30 minutes of exercise that will help shorten the duration of that period of time when you're laying there trying to fall asleep. It'll speed onset of sleep. And then if you're laying there and none of these ideas have worked, and you're laying there trying to fall asleep, and you know that you've got to get up at 6 a.m. and you're like, oh my God, if I don't fall asleep now, I'm only going to get 6 hours. Oh my God, if I don't fall asleep now, I'm only going to get 5 hours. Stop looking at the clock. Stop looking. Whatever sleep you get is going to be good. Just go to sleep. Relax. Stop thinking stuff. On this list, I didn't include something that can be really useful for a lot of people who have trouble falling asleep, and that is those people who, as soon as they lay down, all these ideas start coming into their head of things that they didn't do or that they need to remember to do when they first wake up. People who have that problem need to keep a pad of paper next to their bed. And so as a thought enters your mind, you can put it on the piece of paper and then get in the habit of every morning checking your piece of paper, and then you'll teach your brain, I don't have to keep thinking about it. I wrote it on my piece of paper and I know I will check it in the morning. I can trust myself. And that'll, again, let sleep happen. So these are little strategies to maybe make it easier for you to fall asleep. This one's a little harder. Manage stress and anxiety. Keeping a pad of paper might reduce anxiety or stress. That might be part of that. Exercising can help to reduce stress and anxiety. But other than that, if you've got stress problems or anxiety problems, dealing with those separately has a side effect of helping with sleep. So Americans don't value sleep as much as people in other parts of the world do. Like in the Netherlands, they actually, if they have an evening program at the school that keeps kids at the school past 8 p.m., they'll start school later the next morning and to allow the kids to sleep in, because they are so, just adamant that kids need a certain amount of sleep. Americans can be pretty frivolous about their sleep, and parents will let their kids stay up late and not worry about it and things like that. And we get into some bad habits. Sleep is really important. It has negative consequences if you don't get enough. Most of us don't get enough. Most of us don't realize that adults need between 7.5 and 9 hours of sleep in order to be fully rejuvenated and operating at their optimal levels. So most of us don't know that much about sleep. That's why I gave you the Sleep IQ test as an option on the project list, because most of us really don't protect our sleep the way that we should. When you do protect your sleep, like I do, you oftentimes get made fun of by other people because you're so adamant that you want to get the proper amount of sleep every night. So it's, our culture's not really sleep. They aren't big fans. It seems like a waste of our time to be sleeping. But if you can protect your sleep, you can protect your physical health as well as your memory and a lot of psychological factors as well. All right, let's go ahead and take a break here, and we'll come back and pick up with narcolepsy.